have another fun tutorial for you. Today I'm going to show you how to make this ruffled clutch. It's a nice little wallet, makeup bag, really whatever you want it to be. It's about 9 inches wide and about 5 inches tall. So this pattern is actually a free pattern from Noodlehead. At Cotton Candy Fabrics we carry quite a few of the Noodlehead patterns. I figured it would be great if I did one of the free ones so you could watch along. You can see how easy the patterns are, how great the end product is, and then once you master this you can come on over to cottoncandyfabrics.com and check out some more of the Noodlehead patterns. She has a tote bag, she has a messenger bag, a campfire bag, all these adorable bags and wallets. You can come on over and try some of those out once you get the feel for how her patterns work. So let's get started. Okay, so for the clutch, these are the fabrics I'm going to be using. I'm going to use this Aqua Hearts fabric from Camelot for the interior, and then for the outside I'm going to use these Camelot mint ice cream cones and these sprinkles that go with it. This will be the band that goes across the middle. So, and then we also need a 7-inch zipper, which I picked light pink. So I'm just going to get these fabrics cut up. And the first fabric we need to cut is the exterior piece. So for the exterior, there's actually 2 separate measurements. You need one for the back and one for the front. The front is ruffled, so it is larger than the back. So this fabric is already cut to the height, which is, the height needs to be 5.5 inches. And then for the width of the back piece, we're going to need a 9-inch, a 9-inch piece. So I just cut off the selvage. So we cut at the 9-inch line. Okay, and here's the back. And then for the ruffled side, we need 13 inches. So you can see it's much larger. That's going to give us a little bit of room to ruffle the fabric. Okay, so there's our exterior pieces all cut. Okay, and this is going to be the center band part that goes across the outside. And this needs to be, we just need to cut one 4-inch by 9-inch piece. This is already 4 inches tall, so I'm just going to cut a 9-inch, make a 9-inch cut so that we have a 4 by 9 rectangle. Let me just cut off the selvage first. Okay, and here's the 9-inch piece. You can kind of get an idea of how it's coming together. This is going to lay across, actually it's going to lay across this piece once it's ruffled, but this is kind of giving you an idea of what it's going to look like. Okay, so I'm also going to use this same sprinkles fabric for the zipper ends. We need to cut 2 pieces and they need to be 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches. So we're going to get in here and we're going to be making some tiny cuts. So, actually, let me make this easier on myself. I'm going to cut it at the 3-inch mark since 1.5 doubled is 3. Okay, move this. So we need 1.5 by 2.5. The 1.5. Okay, so these pieces are now 1.5 inches tall, and now let's make them 2.5 inches wide. There's one. And here's the other. The last thing we need to cut is the lining for the interior. So again, it needs to be 5.5 by 9, but this time we need 2 of them, same size. So it's already 5.5 inches tall. Let me just unfold it and get 2 9-inch lengths out of this. Just Salvage. Okay, so there is the interior. You can see we have the two pieces. They're 5.5 by 9 inches. I'm going to put all these measurements in the description of the video, so don't worry if you haven't been writing them down. You can just scroll down and check, and everything will be there for you to just print it out. Okay, so the last thing I need to do is I'm going to cut, this is just some SF101 sheet flex interfacing. You can really use a medium weight or even a fusible flex. It depends how thick or how sturdy you want your clutch to be. But I'm going to cut 4 5.5 by 9 inch rectangles out of this, and then I'm going to line my lining fabric and my exterior pieces. I know that this piece that we're going to ruffle is larger than 5.5 by 9, but don't worry, we're still going to cut the square 5.5 by 9, and we're going to actually apply the interfacing after we ruffle it. So let me just get these 4 rectangles cut up, and then we'll begin sewing. Okay, so I'm just going to attach the interfacing to the 3 pieces that are already cut into the right size. I have my 2 interior linings and the back part of my of the exterior of the clutch. I'm going to just attach the interfacing on those pieces now, and then after we gather the front panel, we'll attach the interfacing then. So when you're attaching interfacing, well, for this one specifically, there's 2 sides. There's a soft side and there's a bumpy side. The bumpy side actually has little bits of glue that adhere it to the fabric. So you're going to want to make sure you have the right side of your fabric down and the wrong side here. And then here is the bumpy side. It's rough textured. The rough textured side of the fusible interfacing facing the wrong side of the fabric. And then you're just going to iron it, and that's going to adhere it right to the fabric so that your fabric is much sturdier and easier to work with. Okay, so the first thing we need to sew is the center band. So here it is, it's all cut. What we're going to do is we're going to fold it in half, and then we're going to just sew down the open raw edge with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And now we're going to take it to the iron. Okay, here's the piece we just sewed. You're just going to turn it inside out like this. We actually have a great tool for this in Cotton Candy Fabrics, the purple thing tool, but I don't have mine here with me, so I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, which is much slower. Now we're just going to iron this, so we turned it inside out, and we're just going to iron this piece with the seam down the back so that you don't see it from the front. Okay, so now I have the exterior piece that's 13 inches wide, and we're going to just base stitch this so that we can add some ruffles. So what you'll need to do is increase the stitch length on your machine. And what this is going to do is give us a nice loose stitch so that we can pull the thread through to create some ruffles. Okay, so I just really roughly did a very gentle press down the middle of my fabric so that I could make sure I have it centered. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to sew 2 basting stripes pretty much down each side about 1/2 inch from the center, so they're going to be 1 inch apart. So I'll do the first one, and what I usually like to do is just do 1 back stitch at the beginning so that my thread doesn't come out, because it is a really loose stitch, but you do want it that way so you can pull the ruffles all the way through. And then you're just going to sew it all the way down the end. When you get to the end, make sure you don't do a reverse stitch. You just pick up your presser foot, pull it out, and snip the thread. You can see it's nice and loose. I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side of the fold. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find your bobbin threads. I used a light pink bobbin thread, so you can see them right here. And then here's my top threads, the white thread. What you're going to want to do is find your bobbin thread and just pull it through. And as you'll see, as you go, the fabric will start ruffling. You're going to need to slide those ruffles along as you pull. And you're going to want to do this until your rectangle gets to 9 inches in width. Right now it's, well, not right now, but when we first cut it, it was 13 inches. So we're going to want to take out about 4 inches with ruffles. Okay, so I finished ruffling my fabric until it was 9 inches, and then I just took it over to the iron and pressed it so that it would be nice and flat. So you can see right here it's now down to 9 inches, and what we're going to do is we're going to get that center piece that we had made earlier, and we're just going to lay it right across the top in the middle. You're going to want to make sure that those basting stitches that we did earlier are hidden nicely under the band. And then I'm just going to use a couple pins to pin it in place, and then we're going to take it over to this sewing machine. Okay, so make sure you set your stitch length back to a normal stitch length, and then we're just going to stitch down each side of this centered belt. Now we have that front piece, and we're going to go back and attach that interfacing that we had cut earlier. Make sure you put it upside down, glue side, bumpy side, facing the fabric. And we're just going to iron it. This will nicely hold everything in place, all of our ruffles, all the stitches, and the belt as well. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is now we're going to make the ends for a zipper. So you're going to get those little pieces we cut, and you're going to fold them in half and iron them like that. Then you're going to want to take the raw edges and fold them in to the center of the crease that you just made, like that. You can see that's what it's going to look like when it's done. You can press it once more. So I'm going to do the same thing to this one. So this is really important. You're going to want to make sure that your zipper, this is why I use a 7-inch zipper. If you use another size, just make sure that the zipper, including the ends, is 8.5 inches. That's really important because what you're going to want to make sure is that these end covers don't cover these little metal clamps that start and end the zipper. You can see them there, and they're also on this end as well. And we're going to, this is what it's going to look like essentially once we get these sewn on. So now we're just going to put a stitch right across the top of that zipper end over the top of the zipper, and what you're going to want to do is use a very small seam allowance, and be very careful when you sew over the zipper part, as you don't want to break your needle. And then you're going to want to do the same thing on the other end. Last thing you're going to want to do is just trim these down to the width of your zipper. Okay, so now we're going to layer our pieces together. We're almost done. So this is the exterior ruffled piece. We're going to get the zipper and we're going to put the teeth side down, and we're going to make sure that we have the zipper opening on my left, which if you're working on it this way, you'll see this is on the left hand side. And then you're going to get the lining piece and put that fabric right side down and line it up just like that. So what we're going to do at the machine is we're actually going to stitch right across the top of this and sewing those 3 layers together through this zipper sandwich. Sometimes it helps if you move the little zipper piece around so that it doesn't get in the way when you are trying to sew, or if you have a zipper foot, it's even better. Mine is not here, so I can't use mine, but if you have one, now would be a good time to use it. Okay, so this is the seam we just sewed. You can see it's starting to look like a bag. We have about half of the bag here now. What we're going to do is we're going to get the other exterior piece, just like that. We're going to flip this open so that you can see the zipper again, teeth side down, and this time you're going to want the pull tab to be on the right hand side, which I'll turn it around so it's on your right hand side. And we're going to line it up just like that. And we're going to get the other interior lining piece and place it on top. And then we're going to do just what we did on the other side. We're going to sew right along this line. Okay, so once you've finished sewing that seam, you'll see that we can open it up and it's starting to look like it's almost done. What we're going to do is we're just going to do a top stitch right along both sides of the zipper, and then we just have to close up our bag. Okay, so just make sure your zipper's in the middle. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put the 2 exterior pieces together and the 2 interior pieces together like that. And then we're going to sew all the way around, leaving about a 3 to 4 inch opening at the bottom of the lining pieces. Okay, so this is what we have now. We sewed all the way around the edges. I just left this opening, it's about 4 inches here on the lining side, and we're going to turn it inside out now. It's going to start looking like a finished bag very soon. Just going to use a chopstick to poke the corners out. So the last thing we're going to need to do is close the opening in this lining, and I'm just going to push it in for now just so you can see what it's going to look like when it's done. This will give you an idea. So you can see it's almost done. We're so close. We just need to close that hole in the lining. Okay, so you can just take this straight to the machine and sew right along this opening. I'm just going to iron it so that it's even easier to sew. And now I'm just going to sew right along the small opening that we had left earlier. Okay, so we sewed that little opening. We're just going to push the lining inside. Just push the corners into corners of the exterior. And then we are done. We have a perfectly ruffled little clutch bag, lined fully on the inside. There's no openings or anything. This pattern does have an optional divider pocket and also a credit card slots. Those are all on the pattern, so if you want to try those, go for it. I just made a basic clutch. You know, it's perfect for makeup, or even you can even use it for back to school, for a pencil case, or even a cell phone, whatever you want to use it for. It's a perfect size bag, and as you can see, it's pretty quick and easy to make. So thank you so much for following along with our tutorial of this ruffled clutch. It was a lot of fun to make. I really hope you'll give it a try. Like I said, the link to the pattern and all the measurements that you're going to need to cut are in the description box below, so make sure you check that out. And all the fabrics that I used here can be found at cottoncandyfabrics.com. Thanks so much.